Good evening, everyone. It is Tuesday, April 9th, 9:45 here Eastern Time, and this is student forecaster Matt with Eastern US Weather. And in this video, I will be giving you guys an update about the upcoming system that will be impacting much of the East. And as Carl kind of went into the video before talking about areas that could be seeing severe weather in the southeast. Okay, so I'll be talking about kind of the general kind of rainfall stuff. Alright, more of the general aspect and the snowy side of the storm. That's what I mainly do. Not too big on severe weather. Alright, so what you got in front of here is the Euro. Alright, for 2 p.m. on Friday. Alright, so for the beginning of this video, I'll be talking about kind of where the models have the area of pressure and the general storm track going. Alright, so this is 2 p.m. So the Euro shows the Euro pretty much shows also the strongest storm in all the models. Well, all the models I'll be looking at. So it shows kind of two areas of pressure, one up there and kind of one down here. Kind of more of a same pressure, kind of like in here like this, but an area breaking off and heading that way. Alright, so that's for Friday afternoon. If we advance 6 hours, alright, and also showing heavy to moderate precip in these areas, alright, coming down pretty good. Alright, and as we advance another 6 hours into Friday evening, it shows these two broken off areas of pressure, kind of I wouldn't say disorganized, but not completely together area of pressure down here, and another area that's kind of weakening on the backside there as dry air works in. Alright, and it shows heavy to moderate precip kind of all throughout New England, especially in central Mass and Connecticut. Alright, so that's for Friday evening. Alright, and as we advance another 6 hours, we see these still two distinct areas of pressure. This area up here now much more together, and this area kind of breaking apart all in through here. Alright, so that's that, and it kind of has the heavy precip moving out, and it kind of takes a track just like this about. Alright, so that is the Euro right there, that image in front of you for 2 a.m. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the GFS now, and this is the same time period, GFS for 2 p.m. Friday. Alright, shows kind of a broad area, not as strong as the Euro pressure right in there. Shows there's kind of some light precip in there, but moderate and heavy on the overall perspective for New England. Alright, so that is that, and it shows kind of the storm center in there. Alright, so if we move forward 6 hours, it shows kind of a broad area of pressure right here, and kind of a stronger defined area right off the southern coast of New Jersey there. And it shows pretty much all the precip shield kind of out to sea. Alright, and some thunderstorms down to the south here. Alright, and if we move forward another 6 hours, it shows this kind of left behind weak area of pressure and the main storm kind of getting its way out of here and to the kind of northeast, but more of an easterly track than the Euro, kind of more out to sea. Alright, so that's the Euro right there for Saturday 2 a.m. Let's move on to the NAM for Friday afternoon. Alright, kind of shows this broad area of pressure. Kind of looks like a bubble breaking off right there. I'll just show you that kind of bubble breaking off right there and kind of creating a new area of pressure right here. And it's showing kind of some heavy to moderate precip in these regions, kind of trailing back through Canada, upstate New York, through New England, not very much northern New England, especially Maine. All right, so it kind of shows this transfer of energy to the coast. All right, so if we move forward another 6 hours here to later Friday night, it shows three kind of main areas of pressure. One kind of down here in DC, which really isn't much in the means of anything. A weakening area up there near the Michigan Great Lake area, and then the main kind of run of the storm right off the Massachusetts coast with pretty heavy precip just off the coast. I wouldn't be surprised if that kind of wind up more inland, but for now that's what it's showing. So let's move forward to the NAM for Saturday early AM. Alright, so it shows kind of this leftover pretty weak area of low pressure, or pressure rather, just kind of back in the Great Lakes region, and the main area of pressure kind of scooting its way out of there. Alright. So yeah, so the NAM kind of shows a similar track, kind of like that. So that's the NAM. Euro's kind of like that, tracking right through southeastern Mass, and the GFS is kind of a mixture of both and just kind of heads east-northeast, you could say. Alright, so next I will be moving on to the total kind of amount of water. Alright, and so what you got in front of you is the euro for Saturday AM. All right. And so yeah, here is what the total precip for pretty much the whole storm is. Shows like 3 inches up into these regions right here, kind of into Michigan and up into Canada a bit, and shows some pretty heavy precip kind of in New York and New England. Alright, not a bad amount of precip, and kind of some heavier precips down to the south. So, overall, I mean, back here, very heavy precip. But for kind of these areas, a solid amount of precip for a storm. Maybe some heavier areas in western and central Massachusetts. Alright, and this is the GFS valid for the same time period, all right? And I want to mention this, that you can really kind of see that cutoff right there in a lot of precip, because the GFS kind of takes a track out sorry, you can't see that, out that away, kind of east-northeast, bringing most of the precip down here, or kind of up there, right? You can't really see it. And it's not important because it's just over the ocean. But it's still, you can see, it brings some heavy precip down to the south here, alright, and then heavy precip through these regions yet again. So, and they both are agreeing with like 3 inches of rain and very, very heavy wet snow for kind of the Detroit area. Snow will be north of Detroit, but that kind of region of Michigan. Alright, so let's move on to what the NAM has for total precip for the storm, right? So the NAM kind of wants to take a more northerly track up there and kind of brings most of the precip up that way, because as you can see, there's clearly not as much precip down in the south here, right? But it's showing a lot of really wide area of precip up in the northern areas I just circled there, and still agrees upon this, actually gives an area of even more than the GFS and what do you call it, Euro for kind of just north of Detroit, but it gives a very broad area of 3 inches of precip. Also, I mean, a small area of 4 to 5 inches, which is a lot of rain, but even more in the sense, a really, really wide area of at least 2 inches of precip. Okie dokie. So that is what the NAM has for storm precip total, right? So here is the surface temps, alright? I guess we'll be looking at the NAM first. This is for pretty much the coldest period through the storm. This also gives you the sense of where the snow will be like the lightest or even snow at all. Alright, so you can see here in Michigan it kind of cuts off right there. Right about there. The freezing mark is right there. Actually, you can't even see that, can you? Right into here. Alright, just like up like that. So this will be all snow. Sorry, should be more careful. Up into here, just like that. Alright, as regards to the Northeast, it kind of shows away from the coast of Maine and kind of interior section of Massachusetts at 2 a.m. Saturday. It'll be snow. Perhaps you can get some wet snow or ice pellets. Maybe just outside of Boston. I think Boston will see all rain. Yeah, so that's what the NAM shows. I mean, most areas, like basically south of here, will be all rain, but they could at a time be some really heavy wet snow or sleet or perhaps freezing rain. But I don't think the freezing rain threat will be as high as I thought it was last night, as things have changed. Alright, but here is the GFS temps for that same time frame. Alright, so you see, kind of interesting. It shows a freezing line for Michigan right along here. Kind of goes a lot farther, perhaps in northern Indiana, but kind of takes out this chunk right there and heads up back that way. So kind of shows a more dip to the south, and then kind of a little bit warmer air working its way in over there, near the kind of west of Detroit. Alright, in New England it shows the freezing line much more north. You know, the freezing line for the NAM was all the way down there. You see that? Compare side by side. So the GFS has a freezing line right along here. Still, they're agreed upon that just off the coast of Maine it'll be freezing line, but it doesn't dip as far, you know, down here. Yeah, so GFS thinks that it'll be hard to get snow in these areas, especially down into here. Alright, so that's what the GFS has for temperatures for Saturday early morning. Alright, and let's look at the Euro temps. Alright, so you can see it's pretty similar to the NAM. Kind of more logical if you compare that to the GFS. Kind of not all these kind of weird shapes and stuff. It also shows a kind of colder air there, you know, probably more drier too. And it agrees with, I mean, somewhat agrees, you know, with the GFS that the freeze line will be way up here. Still agrees with Maine. I think Maine will, and northern New England will get a good amount of snow. Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, so then here is the 35 line and then the 40 line right in there. So this is kind of the most area that has the most potential for change. Massachusetts, kind of northern, Connecticut, not really. I think the Berkshires will see snow, and then southern New Hampshire. Alright, and then here is the total Euro snow map. Alright, it looks like southern Minnesota is going to get absolutely clobbered. Well, not quite southern, but yeah. Southwestern, clobbered, maybe up to 2 feet there. And kind of shows, the Euro shows a kind of distinct area of at least 6 inches kind of away from the coast of Maine, perhaps a little more in northern Maine, and a little more of sections, but kind of has a sharp cutoff. Thinks the Berkshires could get a little bit, but a sharp cutoff along the New Hampshire-Massachusetts border. Alright, and none for the Catskills, pretty much. Alright, and here is my map. And yeah, that is pretty much what I generally think will happen. I think these areas in here could get a little bit of snow, but nothing much. All right, stay tuned. I will have maybe another map out by tomorrow afternoon.